So I've been getting up every morning and going to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning, which is brutal, by the way. And like half the mental power of going to the gym is waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm pretty convinced that all the old people at the gym know each other because like they're like, "Good morning,
Oh, they do.
Sharon. Good morning, Bob. Good morning,
Hey,
Walter."
Arnie, how you doing? And they
Seriously, they're
talk
all
to
like,
each other naked in the locker room.
so they're all like, exercising on the elliptical. Or what's the one where like you're skiing, and there's two guys that are always opposite each other, like opposite the little hallway that goes in between the little walkway between, and one's on the treadmill, and they're just, well, it's now gotten to the point where they say good morning to me. I guess I'm like in their thing now, like on a regular.
You're
good,
old,
good morning.
Eric.
Yeah, I am 29 and I don't like the mile thing on the highway. So as Aaron pointed out.
See, the thing about old people is they love a morning routine because like old people for some odd reason like to wake up at
poop. That's why.
They like to wake up at like 4 a.m. and it's like, early bird gets the worm. It's like, well, I don't think the worms are out that early.
Like you're retired. Like you're not getting worms
anymore.
Exactly.
Because at my job, I have a crew of old people that come in and drink our free coffee. And
at the auto parts store,
we have a little break room, and they come in and drink the free coffee. And it's like they get mad when we don't make them coffee. It's like, oh, sorry, it's free. Do you want me to charge you for it next time?
At the at the auto parts store.
Yeah,
like I could see that at McDonald's. When I worked at McDonald's my first job, there was a regular group of people.
No, this is an auto parts store. I sell farm equipment and things for trucks and cars. And they come in every single morning and they drink their really, really bad coffee. And it's without fail every single morning.
It's like the army of the dead coming up every single morning.
And
there used to be
they keep to themselves, so it's fun.
When I opened McDonald's, there used to be people like if you didn't open the door exactly at 5 o'clock, they'd be like, "Hello, good morning. I'm here for my coffee." You're like, "You're not leaving till 8 o'clock anyways, Walter. Like, who cares if you walk in the door at 4:59 or 5:01?"
What are your stereotypical old people names that you always go to?
Bob or Walter. Yeah, Frank.
Bob
Frank.
Ooh,
I feel like Everybody Loves Raymond has like established that all old men, or 95% of them, are named Frank. I'm pretty sure.
We have one guy named Burl. That's a pretty
Burl's
old,
a good one.
That's an old guy.
That's not even a name.
That is actually one of my former pastors. His father's name was Burl.
That's such a horrible name.
That's such an old person name.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Burl and Beatrice. Like,
wait, how do you spell it,
dude? BURL.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like they walk
like a BERLE.
BURRELL. Burl.
No, people didn't get dumb with spelling of names until like our generation. We want our name to be unique, so
Oksana,
I can't say that though. My name is ERIK. Most people spell their name ERIC. So
that is true. You do have a weird spelling. So yeah, and then my name, everyone thinks it's ERIN. I'm like,
that's the girl version.
But that's because of the way people say it. Right,
yeah,
because
Erin,
because my wife will be like, "Oh, I was talking about Aaron today," and it's like, we don't know anybody named Aaron.
It's not Aaron.
Aaron.
It's Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron.
Present. Oh well, I think we're recording.
Yeah, we are.
Oh.
This is the Under 500 podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back into the second season of the Under 500 podcast.
Season 2.
We are very excited to be back. We are very excited to be blessing your ears with these hot sport takes. As usual, and like last season, I'm joined by Eric. How are we doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tyler?
I'm really good. I'm very, very excited for what's next.
It's good to be back. This is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited for this one.
How long have we been gone?
Like a month.
Just about a month.
Okay.
Just long enough for
being away from you guys. I guess I'm the idiot then. Yeah, everyone laugh at Aaron. Okay, have your moment.
Aaron.
Well, usually are laughing at me.
Oh, by
so
the way,
it's
I'm
okay.
good. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you are, but
I'm
we
doing
know.
great. So
That's good.
don't
And
mind if there's Isaac may at some point enter the room. He's learned how to use doors and
Uh-oh.
open them and get out of bed. So if all of a sudden you hear a kid yelling and then screams as I hit a kid, then actually she can't say that. Gonna get canceled. Never mind.
Well,
Moving on.
it was a good season while it lasted.
good, yeah, we made it 5 minutes and 27 seconds. Good job. All right, so and then for a first time to kick the season off with a pretty good bang here, we have a first time guest on the show. He happens to be in my family. He's my brother-in-law, but not really because he's my brother's brother-in-law. But that's too many words to say. So anytime I refer to him, I call him my brother-in-law. He is Nathan Woundy. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We're very excited to have you on.
There's a lot of connections.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so for the listeners and watchers here, we all four of us at one point were in college together.
Yep.
And we have three of us, Eric, Nathan, and myself, all worked at the same job together for quite some time. And like I said, and the two guys,
Three of us,
the three of you guys, not me, lived at Nathan's mom's house.
I lived in Nathan's room. I did.
Yeah, Nathan and Aaron shared a bed, not together at the same time, but they had the same physical bed.
True.
Yeah,
I had a
so-
good excuse to be there, though.
That's a
how long
good
ago
point.
was that now?
Very good point.
I forget
That
how
was,
long ago it was that I lived there. Well, what year,
20
what year was that, Eric?
2016.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when we were roommates. Good times.
Oh,
Yeah.
like that's right. You guys are at the
Hallway
same
mates.
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And I ate a lot of Nathan's goldfish at BBC's
He
time
did.
together. I still do that. So I actually got in trouble by Lucas. He leads our youth group now because I would go into their fridge and take all their Coke Zeros. And he found it one day because he had to go when I hurt my knee, he had to get my car at the church. He went in, he's like, I saw Coke Zero cans in your office. And then I saw some more in your car. And I noticed all of ours have been going away in our fridge. Have you been taking the Coke Zeros? And I just looked at him and I was like, yep.
That's awesome.
They put a padlock on the fridge. No
Oh,
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I have
that's
a
passive
problem.
aggressive I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I did the same to Phil Becker's laundry detergent and water bottles. So if he's ever hearing this, that's where your Tide Pods
That
were
was
going.
that was like an unwritten rule at our college though, because
He left his door open all the time.
but if you left your laundry detergent anywhere, you should expect somebody to use it, because broke college kids, laundry detergent's not cheap.
I use Steve's all the time because he would forget his downstairs for months on end.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, he didn't really use it often at the beginning of his
Oh,
tenure
yeah.
either. So
Right. So on to the
this is a
the question
sports
we need to ask
podcast,
Nathan.
Yeah, so Nathan, something that we do with every single one of our, and we'll jump right into it here. Something we do with all of our guests is, because this is a sports podcast and sports means something to all of us, we want to know what your Mount Rushmore of sports figures are. And this can't be, we from the beginning we excluded coaches, so you can't do any coaches. So,
and just to clarify, as we've had some guests in the past, Carlos, thinking it was 5. It's only 4.
There's 4.
So.
4.
I don't think Nathan would make that mistake.
Mount Rushmore.
And
Yep.
so really quick before you do that, I wanna also add a little something onto that. Is it's not like something you have to do. This is nothing on you, but a Mount Rushmore can be not who you think was the best, but if you lived at the base of Mount Rushmore, who would you want to walk out to see every day? And that makes my Mount Rushmore not so bad. So Nathan, I want to hear yours. What are they?
That's a good point. I didn't think about. I mean, I did prep a little bit in my mind for this, but I didn't really think about how Mount Rushmore is not the 4 great presidents. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't involve Teddy Roosevelt. Nothing political there. Anyways, this is a sports podcast. So for my for my Mount Rushmore of athletes, though, there's just okay. I'm gonna just go out there. I'm not that well versed in sports history, and I just don't know very much. So why am I on this podcast? You might be asking. There's no good reason.
You're good
So
looking. That's all.
so I would include Tom Brady because it's just inevitable. I'm not going to try to explain it.
I think he's been
Um,
on everyone's list.
yeah, which I mean, it's not hard to justify. I would put Mariano Rivera, closer for the
Arguably the
Yankees,
greatest closer of all time.
greatest closer of all time.
Yep.
Yep. This one I threw in there just because I it's on my mind. DJ LeMahieu, who is the current second baseman for the New York Yankees,
The
fantastic.
name I don't know.
His
He's
contract
really
is
good.
not up. He is not done yet, but man, that guy hits. Anyways, and number 4, I'm gonna put Pablo Sanchez from the
From
backyard.
backyard baseball.
Backyard baseball.
Like, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
straight
what?
up.
Dude.
Greatest athlete in history.
Well played, sir.
Every game,
Oh my
he was
gosh,
the guy
that's
to get.
amazing.
So just so we're clear, you did one football guy and 3 baseball guys, but one of them is a video game, right?
Pablo Sanchez is actually in pretty much all of their backyard,
Okay,
but he is
fair.
exceptionally good in backyard baseball.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I didn't ever play
Mhm.
it, but I knew what he was known for.
Yep.
That's amazing that you just put him
Love.
in there.
Love Pablo Sanchez.
Nathan, you'll be
Wow.
happy to know I just bought a car from the Mariano Rivera Toyota in
Oh,
New
that's
York
amazing.
because his son works there, and it plastered
no
with Mariano or work there, plastered with all sorts of. I said to my wife, I said, I can't believe I'm buying a car from Mariano Rivera's dealership. But he is probably the greatest closer of all time. So
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I told
Oh.
and I said that to the sales guy, and he's like, "Yeah, definitely." I said, "I really liked him in 2004, though. He was exceptional in the playoffs of 2004.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
That was my favorite performance by him."
Yeah. We all get it. Anyways.
What was the second part to that, Tyler?
What?
You said there was like his Mount Rushmore, and then there was something else.
Oh no, I
Like,
just
who
said
do
it
you
could.
wanna meet?
It could. No. I said it could be
Oh, okay.
like some. If you wanted it, if you lived at the base and you wanted to walk out every morning and look at these people, that's also
Oh,
okay for
gotcha.
a Mount Rushmore pick.
Oh, okay, I got
I'm
you.
just covering
I
my
understand.
my really bad pick or picks.
So I guess in
understand.
theory-
I understand.
You could realistically pick 4 exceptionally beautiful but not necessarily talented female athletes just because you like to look at them, I guess.
that's
right?
a good point.
Man,
Falls in
freaking
the rules.
loopholes.
Whoever the
Well,
next guest is, they can
For
they can
our
steal that.
future guests, please don't do that.
Especially if you're
Brittany-
married.
Brittany Griner.
So speaking of bad picks, I wanted because it's our first episode, I wanted to just play a little game, especially between the 3 of us. And Nathan, if you feel like there was an exceptionally bad take or something that we did over the past season, you're more than welcome to chime in. But what let's play from last season. Tell us a sports take you feel validated in, and a sports take you got wrong. So I don't know which one of you 2 wants to go first, Aaron or Tyler.
I'll go
But-
first.
Go.
So a sports take that I feel validated in is Cam Newton coming back. I called it early, like
Yeah, you did.
really
Yeah,
early.
you did. You really did call that early.
I knew it was going to happen, because of the conversation that we had of, well, the Patriots need a tight end, a couple of good wide receivers, blah blah blah, and when I started going over that in my head, I was like, you know what? I think they're going to go with Cam because they're going to want to spend money on new talent. Whether or not those people are talented, we'll see. But yeah, that, and then I don't know. I forget what my other one was. I had it in my head. I had it in my head, but it lost me.
Well, just while you're thinking about that, let me just jump in there.
Sure.
One of the ones I got wrong was that I didn't think Cam Newton would be back. Now, I think we've all talked about this. I don't want Cam Newton back because not for any other reason than I don't think he can throw a football, and I don't think you can win football games with a guy that can't throw the football. But like, I would agree with you that like, if they brought him back because they're trying to rebuild the team, I would rather them. And it seems like everyone disagrees with me. All the sports pundits are like, no, from ESPN all the way down, like you have to have a quarterback and then build around it. I don't know. I feel like some of the better teams had the team and then they got the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like you just have to have a plan. Like whatever way you want to go with it, you got to have a plan, right? So
Right.
you're telling me
Right.
Bill has some plan to rebuild the team, and then he's going to go after Jimmy G next year, or he's going to draft somebody next year, or there's going to be someone that breaks. Fine, that's great, but like, is Cam your future? Not with that contract. He's a placeholder.
Right. Yeah.
Did you think your other one?
He shouldn't be the future.
Oh, I don't
Not
think
a
that he's not young. So having him as what is he, 28?
Is
Or
he?
is he
I
in
thought he was a
his-
little older.
Maybe he's in his
older.
30s.
I think he's around 30. I
Well-
think he's 31 actually.
Let me see here. Let me check really quick just to.
Yeah, I think he's 31. But I
Cam
don't care.
Newton,
The way
he's 31. Wow, you're good.
the way he played last year, I'm just like, nah, there's no way you're a you're a placeholder.
Yeah.
Like, it's because there's no one else available. That's why you got a freaking double.
Well,
Which
you could see it in their like if you were Bill Belichick and you'd known what Cam had been able to do prior to last season, and he was coming off of a pretty bad injury and he'd been released and you could get him for next to nothing. I mean, that's what everybody said. But anyways, regardless of all that, that's the sports back to the sports take that I feel validated in. That's definitely it.
I know for me, mine was about Dak getting paid, because I know a while back when we were talking about that, we were like, should he get paid? I'm like, boy's gonna get paid, he's gonna get, and everyone's like, no, they're not gonna shell out that kind of dough for him, and he did. This guy
Nice
hit the
payday.
freaking lotto with his contract, like I thought would happen. And wow, it's weird. Are you guys experiencing like deja vu with this for some reason? I am, but I don't know. I knew that the way he played going into, even though he got hurt really early, I was like, nah, they're gonna make him the franchise guy. And so when I saw him get that contract, I was like, ching ching. I was like, yep, I got that right. Did you hear what Michael Irvin was saying the other day on like a podcast or one of his shows? He said he went off. I think he did coke again before the show, because like he was like sweating and like screaming and stuff. But he was like, this guy has the same leadership capabilities of Tom Brady. The next closest thing to Tom Brady in the league is Dak Prescott. He's going to be... And he just started going off. And I'm just like, whoa, you need to like pump the brakes. It's like, he's not a Tom Brady. Like, you can't compare him with a guy who has 7 rings. You can't do that.
If he had the leadership of Tom Brady, wouldn't he take a pay cut so his team could get paid?
Ooh, true.
Just kind of a thought.
Like, I heard that, like I was like, hey, Dak's going to get paid. I'm good with that. But when you're comparing him to Tom Brady now, it's like, you need to calm down. Okay. Like, that's false. So that was like the biggest one when that happened. I was like, all right, I got that right. I got that one right. I called it.
That was the other one I wrote down as got wrong. And the one I would like to kind of like clarify, because I remember we were talking about it, like he was going to get paid at 40. He wanted like 45. Remember we talked about $45 million, $43 million, whatever. But if they had franchise tags them, it would have been 37. So they paid him $40 million a year. I think this year he's getting like $75 million or something like that, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
I don't know, like between if you franchise tag him and make him mad, you're only losing $3 million, or you're only saving $3 million a year. But if you pay him $40 million, which is kind of in the middle between the franchise tag and what he wanted, you get the contract, you get control of the player, you satisfy the player, he's ready to go out and play.
He's
you
happy,
gave him a contract.
right.
Yeah. And I feel like that was actually a good move, which you can't. I think most Dallas Cowboys fans would say Jerry Jones isn't very good at good moves. So like that was a pretty good move by him.
No, yeah, I think it was like they realized where the pieces were in play, and they're like, all right, well, I guess this is the best move. And now we just hope that his ankle isn't trash for the rest of his career. So he has to be able to run first, I guess, to be able to see how that goes.
He's got to be able to plant his feet. Like
Nathan, you didn't see what happened to his ankle?
Oh no, I was just saying, why do you need to run in sports?
I was like, wait, do you not know, Nathan?
Go look it up on your own time. It's pretty rough.
Discord.
So the one I feel pretty good about, I wrote down 2. One I kind of already touched on was that rebuilding the team and then getting the quarterback. Like I said last season I was okay with him doing that. I just didn't think it would be with Cam. That's the part I got wrong. But the other one was having reserved feelings about the Bruins. Like I really do have been following the Bruins. I'm really into them. I love watching them. I think they're a fun team to watch. There's just hockey in general is just fun to watch. But I don't know. I don't know if they have what it takes this year. I just don't know if like I can't even describe it. When they face like the Islanders, who are the second team in their division right now and kind of good, like they take forever when they get going. I can't even describe it other than like a football game. When they go down they set the tone. Like when the Bruins can set the tone and score quick, then I know they got the game in hand, however it plays out. But when they kind of get behind, or like, I don't even say behind, but they just can't get the tone set. Like they're in their own zone too much, that sort of thing. It's just bad. Like they can't get out of their own way. And I just don't know if they have the talent or the I don't want to say the know-how. They're super experienced, and I think they're young too. They're not like old, but I mean some of their guy, their staple members are, but that you have that on almost every team. I just don't know if they have the pure ability to be able to match up against some of these bigger, faster teams and win. So I have reserve. I still want them to win. I still think they're good. I still think hockey's like a sport that you can just get into the playoffs and then you can see what happens. It's like baseball. You just play your way in and then see what happens from there.
Right.
But I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to go up against the Islanders in a 7-game set and just lose in 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I know Tyler is pulling for him.
Yeah, well, that was my when we get into I'll just say it now. That was one of the takes that I think I got. I'm not ready to call it because it's March, but I on here said that I think the Bruins are the team to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, you did.
And
you sure did.
We have that recorded, man.
Don't worry, I have the deleting power. Don't worry. But it's March, so I'm not panicking yet. But once we get into April and mid-April, and if they still look like this and they can't climb out of this slump that they're having, it's bad news. It's bad news for the Bruins. And that's the take that I hope I don't feel like I got wrong, but it looks like I'm probably going to get it wrong.
No.
And that stinks. But I mean, we already saw snippets of this team, like you said, Eric, not being able to set the tone and falling behind quickly. Last season versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, they just got demolished. They just could not skate against them. They just didn't have it.
But Tampa went on to win the whole thing, so they played the best team and lost.
Right.
Like,
but last year's Bruins were, I think, a better team than the Tampa Bay Lightning, talent-wise. I really do.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I hope I don't get it wrong, but we'll find out next month, because if they're playing like this in April, mid-April, there's just no room to climb out.
Time out, Nathan. What is your wife watching? Because we're all watching it with her.
I know. Oh my gosh.
It's
Grey's
Grey's Anatomy.
Ugly Betty.
Grace?
Ugly
Oh.
Betty.
Ugly Betty. Okay.
The door
Ugly Betty.
was nicely, just slightly ajar, but then my my cat.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there's the cat.
There he is.
It is.
There he is.
Pookie, right?
Aw.
Yeah, Pookie. Yeah.
Aaron, you have anything else to add?
That'd be great. Yeah.
For the takes, for
Yeah.
the ones I feel validated in.
Whatever you want to add.
No, not really for those. I have a lot that I got wrong though.
Let's hear it.
For our
Oh, I
next
wanna-
time,
I've
right?
already told you the ones I got wrong. So, Aaron, go ahead.
I want to
So
share.
Tyler, me. Oh wait,
Yeah.
Nathan. By
Nathan,
all
go
means,
ahead.
Yeah,
you are a
I
guest.
feel validated by a take. Yeah, so I didn't, obviously it's my first time on the podcast, and I didn't necessarily, make it public anywhere. But and this is gonna draw some nice heat. But I believed at the time that the 2018 World Series was a fluke. I was like, nope, that team's not good enough to win the World Series. Go on to 2019. By the way, this is the Red Sox I'm talking about. And then to go on and end with a record in 2019 of 84-78, third, 19 games behind the Yankees. So 2018 wins 108 games, and then 2019, 1 year later, the only notable differences in their roster was Craig Kimbrell and Joe Kelly. That's all I noticed. And then drops 84 wins. So 24 fewer wins, and with almost the exact same team the following year. So I
Yeah, that's
felt
fine.
validated. And then the cheating scandal came out, and I'm like, I win. I was right.
Wait,
It
so
was a fluke.
a fluke, as in you think that the Red Sox were cheating?
They absolutely were. They absolutely were. There's no doubt about it.
Like every team doesn't steal signs through digital stuff, but okay.
If you ain't
but they got
cheating, you
caught,
ain't trying.
and that's the
You ain't
important
cheating,
part.
you ain't trying. That's right. Yeah, it doesn't.
They cheated, and they got caught, and their manager got suspended, and so did what's his name, AJ Hinch over
he
in
gone.
Houston. I also feel very good about that being a fluke. So yeah, I
I
was
will
very
give you.
angry about 2017 and 2018.
I'll give you
Both
this
teams I
much,
did not
Nathan.
want to win.
I didn't root for that team until the very end, and then when they went to Yankee Stadium because they were almost insufferable to watch, even though they kept winning, they were just unlikable. But then, I saw
That's
those.
true.
I forget
Very
who I
true.
saw, but like there was some. It was either on Snapchat or like on Twitter or Instagram. Like Yankee Stadium was chanting, "We want Boston, we want Boston." And I was like, "All right, let's go." And they get in there, and I don't know if Brock Holt hitting the cycle was cheating but I don't know. Like that was pretty cool.
If you know what pitch is coming, you know when not to swing.
I don't know if
the
Brock
thing.
Holt has the talent for that though.
But anyways,
Brock Holt.
I'll give you.
Isn't
I'll
that
give you that one.
that's my
Steve
that's
Holt.
my
Steve Holt.
Steve Holt? That's what it is. I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds like a character from Arrested Development.
It is.
Steve Holt.
oh goodness.
I don't know why I thought of that.
I'll give
But
you that, Nathan. Though that's fair.
Yeah, I had a couple really bad takes. Tyler, this first one, me and you both had. I remember the midpoint of the NFL season. We're talking about, man, you had the Browns, you had the Titans, all these teams kind of up and coming, making a playoff push. And we're like, all right, who's it going to be? Is it going to be these Browns? Is it going to be these Titans? And then me and Tyler were both like, nah. It's going to be the Raiders. Derek Carr is going to bring them into the playoff promised land. They got the offense to go. They beat the Chiefs once. They almost beat them a second time. They're the ones that are going to go to the playoffs. Screw the Titans and Browns. Well, the Browns and the Titans both went to the playoffs, and the Raiders from that point on pooped the bed, especially as Eric, he had Derek Carr as his quarterback in fantasy. He felt that the entire rest of the season. And man, I'll man up. I'll be a man. I was wrong. Okay, I called that completely wrong. Eric, for your credit, you picked the Titans and they surged the second half of the year. So kudos to you for getting that right. And I looked foolish, and I know me and Tyler were texting after, and we're just like, well, we look dumb.
Yeah, it was bad.
I was like, literally after we made that announcement, they just went. I was like, come on, guys. And then the other one was LaMelo Ball. Right when he got drafted, I think the first episode we had after the draft, I was like, he's going to be nothing more than Alonzo, if that. He's just going to be a kind of a role player. And the kid ended up being a stud. Since entering the starting lineup, he's been averaging over 20 a game, almost 7 assists, over 5 rebounds. He's good. He's legit, and he's going to be really good. Unfortunately, just recently, broke his wrist and is going to miss the remainder of the season. So it's a big blow to that team. Hopefully that's something that can heal up, and at least it's not a lower body injury. So it should heal up, and he should be good to go next year. But that sucks that he got hurt. But he's proven to be a much better player than I ever thought he was going to be. He's already surpassed like Lonzo's peak. So I was wrong. I may be good looking. I get it, but I have to have some flaws somewhere else. So I'm wrong once in a while.
Nice. Do you guys we had some other things on this agenda, but do you want to just jump into some baseball stuff? Because we got Nathan, and he's a really big Nathan guy. Or really big. Yeah, he's a really big Nathan. He's a really big Nathan guy.
He's
not a big fan of Nathan at all.
He's a really big baseball guy. As you can tell, because his Mount Rushmore had baseball people, which continues my theory that if you're a baseball person, you put baseball people up there. I am surprised. I'm surprised you didn't put like Lou Gehrig or
Babe Ruth.
Well, I understood Babe Ruth, but like Lou Gehrig, like he's like the Yankee, isn't he?
I'm not like. By the way, I'm shrugging for the people who are listening. I'm shrugging, but it's not because he's not great. Lou Gehrig's fantastic. I didn't prep enough.
Mario Rivera was a great one.
Mo's an easy one. Yep, I was
Mario Rivera. You can't. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that guy for sure. He was incredible.
So you forgot his name. That's what it came down to.
So baseball stuff.
There aren't any
Tyler,
diseases like basically named after him or anything.
So baseball is in spring training right now, and we're getting to see a glimpse of MLB teams and what they could have in the next few years, because a lot of the younger guys in the system get to play. And personally, being a Red Sox fan, I like what I see from our younger guys. I really, really do. But we have opening day on April 1st. April 1st, which is very exciting. I'm very, very excited about that. I have a few questions for a few of you. The first one I want to ask is to Nathan, because Nathan is a Yankees fan.
Yankees
Surprise.
Which
I got a shout out on the very first podcast about being actually, I'm gonna jump in. We have a group chat, this group of us, and I was like, yeah, guys, I'm happy to be your punching bag, your punching bag Yankees fan. So then the chat is now titled Nathan is our punching bag. So yes, I love that.
So my question to you is, the Yankees have had a good amount of success over the past 3 years, basically ever since they had Stanton and Judge. So what are your expectations for the Yankees this year? Do you see them going all the way? I don't know if you watch spring training, but do you see signs of life in spring training? Just basically, what are your overall expectations of this year for the Yankees?
Yeah, good question. So with the Yankees, it comes down to, and it has been the same case the last 3 years running, staying healthy. That is the only thing that is keeping them from being serious contenders for the World Series. And I'm not even talking about the playoffs. I'm talking serious contenders for the World Series championship.
Okay.
Because if you can keep Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, really those two mainly, healthy and active on the field, all 162 games of the season, heck, 150 games of the season, the Yankees will be very, very hard to beat. Very hard lineup to go up against. So health is the absolute top of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Our pitching is bizarre, but it works, I think. Especially with the last year's signing of Garrett Cole. He is so dominant and so good. Yeah, he's very, very good, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, Garrett, right? Yep, good player.
Yep,
Football player.
Yep. So yeah, I'm excited to see a full season out of him. See him rack up like 300 strikeouts or something.
Do you think they're gonna pace? I know the Red Sox did this when they were really good. They used to like invent injuries for like Manny Ramirez so that he would disappear for 2 weeks because they just knew that he just was Manny. Or they would even do it for Pedro. They would invent injuries so that after like the All-Star break, he'd have like 2 or 3 weeks off because they didn't need him, so that he could be, ready to go for the playoffs and rested. Because the whole point of baseball, 162 games through the summer, is it wears you out. Like that's the problem with Chris Sale and the Red Sox is he loses too much weight.
That's such a long season.
It really is. It really
Yankees
is.
have no flexibility to put up fake injuries because there's been, gosh, the last 3 years running, there's been like a cycle. It's like, oh wow, okay, Judge is out, he's out for 3 weeks. Then like 2 days before he's back, Stanton's out, and then he's gone, and then Gary's out, Gary Sanchez is out, and then Gio Urshela's out, and then Gleyber Torres is out, and then it's like, can we just have everybody on the field at the same time? Because you're all really good and you really could do this, but you have to be here all at the same time. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think the Yankees have the flexibility to just be like, oh yeah, spend 10 days on the IL, which is what it's called now, the IL.
So there's obviously no guessing who's going to be first in the AL East and the dominant team in the AL East, because who else is going to be? It's the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
And so
most likely,
as a Yankees fan, who in the American League do you think is your biggest threat throughout the season and even in the playoffs?
Question. I am not prepared for that at all. I would say that. Oh goodness, the Twins are good now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the Twins, but the Yankees, just when it comes to the playoffs, the Yankees are Twins killers. Like the Twins have lost to the Yankees. I think it's like, oh gosh, like 17 out of the last 18 games in the playoffs. It's a murder fest.
Yeah.
But I know that they're up and coming, definitely in the AL Central. In the West, I hate the Astros. I didn't used to hate the Astros. I used to respect them, but I hate the Astros now.
Everybody
Um,
does.
and they're like the bane
Yeah.
of our they're the bane of
What did
the
they cheat
existence
or
of the
something?
AL.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017. They oh wait, do you not know? I want to bring a trash barrel to every Yankees game that I ever go to.
I
Did
had
you
so
hear
much
about-
fun.
Did you hear about the guy at spring training, the security guard at spring training?
I think so.
The Astros
Oh.
played an away game, and I think it was maybe the White Sox, and they had a security guard literally in uniform, on the job, getting paid, banging a trash can in the stands.
For every
It wa-
single pitch, right?
Every
For every
single
single
pitch.
pitch.
Every pitch.
That's amazing.
I'm like, oh man,
Oh,
that is
man.
so funny. So
That's America
that's
forever
great.
right there.
so also for my second question is who. So there's no lying and there's no guessing that the Yankees are probably in the playoffs and most likely, if everybody stays healthy, like you said, in the World Series. Who's the team you do not want to face in the World Series?
The Dodgers.
Yeah, I knew
Dodgers
that was
are scary. Though they've been too good for too long, and they pulled off 2020. Okay, if the Yankees had won in 2020, I'd be like, yeah, totally legitimate season. But since it's not the Yankees, I'd be like, nah, it was kind of a season. There was
Yeah,
60
that's fair.
games.
What
But
do you
no,
think
I'll
of the
give it.
Padres, by the way, Nathan?
Padres are scary too.
They're
Are they AL or NL?
They're NL.
They're NL.
They're
Okay.
They're NL.
terrifying. They are
Yeah,
I think they're the one single team that is
That has a chance
that has a chance
against the Dodgers.
against the Dodgers.
I
They
agree.
are a
Yeah, the
good
Dodgers
team.
are scary though. Dodgers are really really good. I mean, they have Mookie Betts, they have Cody Bellinger, right, and they have Clayton Kershaw, they have Trevor Bauer now. Yeah, so they have really good pitching.
I'm so glad you didn't say David Price. David Price sucks.
Now, does he even start anymore? I don't even know.
Beats me.
Even if in the playoffs, it's not going to matter. He's probably not going to be showing up. They only use like 3 pitchers in the playoffs now and just cycle them. So he wouldn't have a chance. It would be clearly Kershaw, Bauer, and I feel like there's a third one that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, Dodgers,
Dustin
scary team.
What do you
Dustin
do?
May.
You have more questions, Tyler? Go ahead.
I do. Well, it's a question for all of you actually, because Nathan and I love baseball. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but you could sit through an entire 9-inning game and not be bored.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, but the thing the other side of that is Aaron is one of these, and I think Eric is one of these. Is baseball is kind of boring.
So to be clear, I used to freaking love baseball. I loved baseball.
So I want to get into that because you say you used to love baseball, and Aaron even put a baseball guy in his Mount Rushmore because he thought that Barry Bonds was fun to watch.
He was the one guy at the one time in the history of baseball where I actually would pay attention on Sports Center. And back when I would read papers about what he was doing.
So
other than that, never paid attention to the sport.
Okay,
You read the paper?
Yeah, I used to check the sports sections and stuff like that when I was like a teenager and all
dude,
that.
I used to read the North Reading
you're dating
Transcript
yourself.
every Thursday.
I would read the Daily Hampshire Gazette as often as I could for the sports columns.
Yep, that's exactly what I would do.
So my question to you guys and Nathan as well, just your input on this is baseball is not what it used to be. The average length of a game is so much longer than it used to be. The players are a lot more in control of how the game is played, and just a lot of aspects of the game. So for a person that doesn't watch baseball and doesn't really want to sit there for 3 hours watching, a slow game, what would it take for you to actually sit down and watch 9 innings of baseball?
Oh man.
Oh, good question.
Aaron?
Explosions. I don't know.
Pyrotechnics.
Flashing lights, smoke.
What's that football
brawls.
thing right now where you could tell the players what play to play? Aaron wants that for baseball. Throw a curveball here. Throw him the knuckler.
Blitz. Aaron, they can't blitz. Hit somebody.
Steal second base.
You need to hit a home run. I can't just do that. You need to do that now.
Well, maybe if you hashtag let them juice, they could hit a home run on demand.
See, like that, I'm all for let the floodgates open on the PEDs, man.
So is that your actual answer? Like
I don't. So with a game of baseball, honestly, it's slow paced. Where you could change some things to change it. I'm honestly probably not watching the whole game. Like
Okay.
it's my opinion. I just don't care for the sport in general. Yeah, I've attempted to watch a game a couple times and I can't get past an inning.
Okay.
I'm just like, nope, Netflix.
So the sport just isn't like it just
doesn't appeal
really
to me at
relate to you.
all.
Okay, that's I mean, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's my opinion. Like I know people love it. I know Nathan loves it. That's fine. Just for me, I probably will never sit down and watch a game.
Unless
That's
they
where I'm
had,
at.
you know, jacked guys that were on PEDs and
I would tune in for like a see him at bat. Like if they had a freak of nature, I'd be like, all right, let's see what he does. Like I would tune in to see him play.
Aaron Judge is almost a freak of
I
nature.
was just about to say
He's
you
a
could
big dude.
actually probably tune into Aaron Judge and be very entertained.
Well, and to be fair, on
so
Sports Center,
much
I wouldn't care about any of the baseball stuff, but like when they bring up Aaron Judge's name, I'd be like, no, I'm gonna listen for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like because he's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with Giancarlo Stanton. I think I
Yeah.
saw
He's a
recently
big dude too.
there was a stat that I saw. It was fantastic. It was like only like in the past like 5 years, only 7 times has a pitch been hit at like 117.9 whatever miles per hour or faster. 5 of them were Giancarlo Stanton. One of them was Gary Sanchez, and the other one was Aaron Judge. All 3 of them in the heart of the
Well,
Yankees order.
That's why they're called the
Yep.
Bronx Bombers.
Those
That's
guys
it.
crushed the ball. Yep.
So what about you, Eric?
So for me, like, just to be clear, I grew up watching baseball. Actually, I told one of our friends, Bobby, once that my first love is probably baseball before football. I followed baseball long before I followed football when I was really, really young. Growing up, I used to go with my great grandmother to watch, and our family to watch like Red Sox games at Fenway, 12th row behind the batter's box. No, we couldn't afford those tickets, but my mom got them for free. So like, that's my earliest memories. That's my favorite place on earth. Like, I love Fenway. I love baseball. My problem is that baseball is a sport where you're waiting for the action to happen. I actually think sometimes at the end of basketball games, Aaron, which is interesting why you don't really like baseball, is like at the end of a basketball game, there's a lot of timeouts. So it's not the action. The action is in waiting for the action to happen, right? Like, they got to get it out of bounds. They got to have the foul. They got to, there's all those timeouts. So you're especially when the game's close, right? You're kind of waiting for that play, and it might only be 5 seconds.
Right. If it's a close game and they have full timeouts, it could take like 10 minutes to get through a minute.
Right.
Baseball is similar versus like hockey, and football's the perfect middle, but hockey is a sport, as I've gotten to know it, is like you're in the action waiting for the game to stop, because the game stops when you've iced the puck and you're catching your breath. It stops when there's a penalty and there's gloves going on the floor because someone's beating somebody else up. It's stopping when there's a goal. Like you're kind of fluid and moving. And honestly, I know you guys think I'm crazy, but that's how NASCAR is. Like, you watch for the crashes is what the average person would. So the race is going on. You're waiting for the reason why the race stops. Baseball is one of those sports where you're waiting for the action. It was Paulie at Papagino's. He said, he was a huge basketball guy, but he would say I don't know if there's anything like baseball hanging on every pitch. And I agree to that. So like a baseball playoff game where you're in it and you're watching, like that 2004 run where it's a stolen base that starts everything, and whether you're a Red Sox fan like me or a Nathan I keep saying that Yankees fan like
Yankees fan.
Yankees fan like Nathan, you're kind of waiting for that action. My problem with baseball now is that it takes too long for that action to actually happen. And
Oh man, I set up Siri to tell me when my phone's about to die. My bad.
I'm about to die. Are we okay here?
She goes, plug me in, man. I'm about to die.
Well, this is
Sorry.
awkward.
Go ahead.
But anyways, how do you get back into a sports take after that? But anyways, no, I just think it takes too long for that action to happen. And when that action happens, it's not the action I grew up with, like stolen bases and bunting and really hard earned strikeouts, or a double off the top of where a ground rule double and triples and base running, and like the sport is now it's just I hear it said a lot on all the sports things I listen, the 3 predictable outcomes. You want a home run, which is why home runs are way up than they've ever been. You want to walk, or you want to strike out, because you can put those 3 things into a computer and they're going to spit out what you're going to be. And it's about holding the ball longer. You need to hold the ball longer because you can get more velocity on the ball, or you want the right launch. And it's all these And I'm a nerd. Like, I like the nerdy stuff. I like some of that stuff, but like, I don't know. Take the shift out of the game and make the guys throw the ball faster and make it so that like doubles and triples are fun again. Make baseball fun again. Like I remember watching baseball with my mom, and she's like, "You just need a single." And I remember thinking that, like, you get 3 singles in a row, you got the bases loaded, and then let's see what David Ortiz does. Like those kind of things. Like where the game was, you're kind of building. There's a man on first. Up, there's 2 outs. Up now, there's a man on first and second. Oh, there's a man on first and third because second. So, oh, David Ortiz stepped up to the plate. What's gonna happen? Is he gonna hit a home run? We just need a double. But you know what I'm saying? Like you're building to. I don't feel like that's baseball now. It's just all right, there's a single shot to left field. Oh, there's a ground out. Oh, there's a strike. It's not action anymore. Or it's not the same.
It's a good point. And something that you brought up there.
Make baseball great again.
The something that you brought up there is back in like the 80s and the 90s when the guys were drinking beer and eating French fries in the dugout. You had risk takers. And analytics in 2020 tell you don't take risks in baseball. Because baseball through 9 innings and with so many games played because it's been played since in the 1800s, risks analytics say don't take risks because you can basically predict the outcome of a game. And what you said in there was something about bunts, and back in like the 70s and 80s, and even the 90s, bunting with 2 outs was a thing. You would actually do that. Nowadays, that's unheard of. You never bunt with 2 outs, even if it's for first and third, 2 outs, and you get a speedy guy on first, speedy guy at the plate. Why not bunt with 2 outs?
If you're a lefty and there's a shift on, why wouldn't you bunt?
Right, exactly. Why wouldn't you put it in? I play MLB The Show all the time. I love that game. And when Ken Griffey Jr. steps up to the plate, they put a shift on him automatically, and you just bunt. You can bunt for a double.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's like, I was thinking, why don't you do that in real life? And, there's no risk in baseball anymore. And like I said, I still love the game. I could still, no matter how boring it gets, I will always love baseball just because I love the game. I love just throwing of a ball and hitting it with a bat. It's just the fundamentals of baseball. I love it. But you have a point where the people that are saying it's boring, you have a great point, because it takes a while for things to heat up. It takes a while for things to for something to happen. And it's tough because, and I think that's one of the number one reasons is people love the science of things. Sports loves science. Sports science is like a degree now. And so something that I think personally that would make people want to watch is it's not make the game quicker. It's just let the guys play. Stop. Why in the world, and this is the question heard around the world, why did they pull Blake Snell out of the World Series when he was pitching an incredible game?
I was so happy about that, though. Oh, man, I wanted the Rays to lose. So happy about that.
But do you know why that happened? Because analytics said, well, the Dodgers offense has seen him 3 times now. Take him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's stupid. That was dumb.
Yeah.
But the analytics said they'd seen him 3 times now. They know what he's throwing.
Mm-hmm.
A real great pitcher, doesn't matter how many times you see him. However many times in a season would people see Mariano Rivera and he'd still blow right by him? How many times when
Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan, yeah, there you go.
103 miles an hour.
Pedro Martinez,
I have a question about that. So I know in the NFL and stuff, like when like a coach would tell Peyton Manning to like, hey, we're kicking a field goal, and Manning would be like, no, we're not. He'd tell the offense to stay on the field. Like he would just completely disobey the coach. And you see in the NBA too, some people, like a coach will drop a play and they're like, no, give me the ball, and they just go against it. Is that possible in baseball? Like if they were going to pull that guy, could he just be like,
it's possible.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it where they've said, get back in the dugout and
Clayton
finish
Kershaw does it all the time.
Okay, I didn't know if that
Clayton
happened.
Kershaw will be like, he'll say to Dave Roberts, no, you're not coming out yet. And he'll finish.
I like seeing the video.
But the
I
problem,
like seeing those videos.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I like seeing the videos of going like, the pitcher's on the mound, and then the manager starts to like just barely step out of the dugout, and he goes, "You effing sit back down.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're good. He's like, I'm good. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
And
yeah.
that's good. I like that because like that's where the player like analytics at that point like can shove it, and the player's like, no, they can try to stop me. Like I just like that mentality out of a player where they're like, no, yeah, your analytics may say this, but I'm good.
Yeah.
So
And Clayton Kershaw has done that. And probably other, but I've seen videos of Clayton doing that, and he's done it multiple times. But like, Blake Snell, when I forget the manager's name of the Rays, but when he came out, he was like, he said, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like you could see him say it, and it's like, I think the player should be able to be like, "No, what are you doing? Why?"
Right.
But the respect and the that you have to have for a manager when you're on the team is like they could send you back down to the minors for disagreeing with the coach or with the manager. Like the power that the managers have. Yeah, I mean they could just send you right back down if the manager's like, no, I don't like that you did that. Yeah, it is.
On the flip side, in general, baseball players have too much power in that sport. Just in general, they have a lot of play. That you can't change any of the rules in that sport without them.
I know. They're like, nah, we don't want to change
the
it.
Players Association does. Yeah, they have a lot of.
Which is why I think over the next couple of years you're going to see another lockout, and it might really kill baseball because
that'd be bad.
Those contracts are up, and I think MLB says we're going to be in trouble soon. So pitch clocks and getting rid of the shift, and the players are going to say, "All right, we'll pay us more money, but also no."
Yeah, that's how now that you bring that up, the pitch clock is something that they've implemented, I think, permanently in the minor leagues. I'm not sure if it's permanent, but I know they've done it a few times now.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, I really honestly don't see a pitch clock being the thing that makes the game better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
I really don't.
It can help though. It can help move it along.
I know, but like personally, and this is maybe like a selfish, I like it, but when it's like, in the 7th, 8th inning and a pitcher's taking a while because he's dealing and like he's just taking his time doing his thing. I love that. I love watching a pitcher being in his groove.
But the average pitcher
eliminate that.
The average pitcher in the group is not taking more than 35 seconds. It's only your boy over there, David Price, that's taking 45 seconds because he's having a meltdown on the mound.
If it's top of the first and you're taking 45 seconds to a minute to deal a pitch, all right, you got to hurry it up. Like something's got to change with your routine to stepping on the rubber.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I agree. I agree with Tyler's point though about pitch clocks. I don't think that they'll necessarily make the game more interesting for people who just don't find the game itself interesting.
Right.
It's like, yeah, the pitchers were closer together. It's like you weren't paying attention to either of them, though. It doesn't really matter. When it comes down to it, I think baseball is really heavily nuanced. It's so much more than the other sports. The other sports are just talking generally are much more flashy. There's a lot more like going on at any given moment.
Right.
But if you're watching a pitching duel, like to one viewer, they'd be like, that was boring. Nothing happened. Nobody scored. To another viewer who like knows things about the game, they're like, wow, those guys were pitching an amazing game. His movement on his slider was incredible.
Right.
And I'm not like a pitching expert or anything, but if somebody points out, it's like, yeah, this pitch had really good movement on it. I'll be like, oh my goodness, it did. It was going like this, and then it went like that. That's really impressive to me. Like, wow, I get it.
It's like when you watch paint dry. One guy's like, "This is boring." The other one's like, "Wow, do you see how that's drawing? Like, it's drawing quicker because it wasn't as thick. Like, that's fascinating. I can't believe it."
And this is the point I actually wanted to make was like, okay, personally, this is my opinion. I find basketball really boring. I don't really understand why a basketball game is more than 30 seconds long. Because if it's a blowout, it's a blowout. One team won in the first quarter. If it's a close game, the last 10 seconds is all that matters. And I don't get why would you play the whole rest of the game? What's the point?
That's a really good take. I like it.
Actually, that's a really good point.
That's a really good point.
they don't do anything to cater to me, and I don't care. I'm not gonna watch the sport. Why would I ask them to change the game for me? I don't care what the NBA isn't gonna do for
You don't
me
think it
because I'm not
caters
gonna watch
to
it
like
anyway.
shorter Italian men? That's weird. I thought that was like right up their alley.
On the flip side to your point, Nathan, though, the NBA is a younger generation that's on the up and rising versus the average baseball viewer. Like, you can go look at the stats; they're 50 to 65. They're either retired or
Definitely.
about to retire. So, if baseball as a sport doesn't want to die because all of its viewership is going to die sooner than the NBA viewership, then the MLB has to consider things to do. I don't think they need to make it stupid and flashy, but like, can they bring it back to a point where it's not all, and those nuances are even fine too, but can they bring it back to a point where, like, I don't know, it's the 8th inning and you're down by 3 runs. Let's just get on base whatever way you possibly can. Forget the nerds, forget what they say.
I'm just waiting for the so like I'm waiting for the good idea to come, like whenever the good idea comes, because I've heard about a lot of ideas, pitch clocks, eliminating the shift, things like that. And it's like, what? Those aren't going to be interesting. That's not going to make the game interesting for people who don't care for baseball. Like, that's not going to make them like go, oh wow, what a fastball that guy's got, just because like
No,
there's a
I
shift
think
that's
now.
a good
It's
point.
gone.
I do think it's just in
I
the
think it's
DNA of the sport, but I think
yeah.
I think some of those things,
say
if the
radically
MLB
change
has
the
to do
game.
something, the MLB has to do something. So they have to say, the average game has taken, 30 minutes longer since over the past 30 years. And one of the things we can do to enforce is to actually enforce that the pitcher throws the ball in a reasonable set of time, even if there's not a pitcher's clock. And if they don't, but the only way to do that, I feel like, is with a clock. And if they don't, ball one. And on the flip side, because I remember David Ortiz talking about that too. Stand in the, if you have 5 seconds to get back in the batter's box, or it's strike one. Like, let's go. Like the silly little neurotic routine stuff. I get that, but like, you gotta get and the other thing, like with shifts, is let's get more action, right? So I still think shifts are fine, but do you know how many shifts there are, Nathan, these days? It's like 5,000-10,000 shifts a year. Like they had, I remember watching a game and Mookie Betts pulled out this little like card and it told him, on this player, you shift 30 feet this way and step 5 feet back. Like those kind of things. Like, no, you can't do that anymore. Stand in your position. You can adjust, but you don't have a little card in your back pocket to tell you exactly where to stand. And if the ball gets by you and it's a double, take your hat off and tip him because he beat you. Like, I don't know. Like, those are the kind of things that I think you can. I'm not talking about just on lefties, they move over. Like, that's not. I'm talking about all those other shifts that just happen throughout the game that
That's
are
actually
all the time.
Surprisingly, I actually agree with you on that, because that leads to more action. And more action's gonna attract the average viewer, because like winning Aaron over to baseball is almost impossible. It's not gonna happen
unless you pay me. Then I'll consider.
Right, and that goes for like hundreds of thousands or even millions of other Americans. You're not just gonna win them over to baseball by changing little things. There's probably nothing you can do. But to keep the average fan, and that's actually something that's happening, is like kids who grew up liking baseball but then get older, like, I don't have time to sit down and watch a 4-hour baseball game. I do. Maybe I don't have the time, but I'll make the time for it, right? But the average person isn't going to make the time for that. But if the game starts getting a little bit more heated up and the outfielders just have to go from, Mookie Betts in right field has to see the first ball that this guy has hit and see where he's at on his swing with the pitcher to know where to stand in the field, instead of taking his hat off and looking at a card that tells him where to stand already. I actually like that idea. Surprisingly, I really like that idea. That's a great idea. And that would actually make the game more fun for me to watch, because I love action, but I also love a pitcher's duel that nothing's happening.
That has its merit. But I'm gonna kind of call back to a certain era that we all got to see as kids. And this is my perception of it. I could be completely wrong, but in the early 2000s, right, when the steroids, there was a steroid binge. Everyone was doing steroids. Yeah. It made the pitchers a lot better.
Oh,
and
it
pitchers
totally
had to get really, really good to start beating some of these guys. which made the game more interesting. And then everyone found out about the steroids, and suddenly the pitchers were overpowered and the hitters couldn't do anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're at maybe kind of a pivotal point where hitters are having to get better. So I put DJ LeMahieu on my Mount Rushmore. I don't, I don't know if he's gonna be like one of the greatest athletes ever, but my gosh, that guy can hit, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter who he's facing, what the field looks like. He will get it past them, and he's gonna hit like bare minimum 310 throughout an entire season, no matter what you throw at him, because he's just that good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Just
other
a
players
natural
around the
hitter,
league that are like that. They're just gonna get there. And that's what I really, really enjoy. And I get that it's like, baseball's just not gonna be the average viewer's game. It it might not have to be. I mean, it might lose a lot of money, and I'm okay with if they lose money. I just want the game to be interesting to me. I don't want it to be, just I don't know, the same thing over and over again. It's like, oh wow, so we got 6 hits this inning
yeah.
again. It's like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right, I guess that's fine. Just like, but now pitching doesn't matter anymore. It's like, well, who's gonna hit harder?
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing the big guys hit it really, really hard. But I mean, it'd be kind of boring if every time Aaron Judge hit a 500-foot home run.
Yeah. Well, let's why don't
Yeah,
we finish?
guys, this is scintillating. It truly.
All right,
I'm
Aaron. Okay,
I
all
have
right, all right,
goosebumps.
all right, Aaron. Okay, so he wants something a little bit more interesting. So, Nathan, this is the part of the episode where we're going to change away from baseball, and I'm very excited. And this is partially one of the reasons why I wanted
Oh,
Nathan
man.
here, and I'm really excited for this. Nathan, what did you think of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars? Please, I'm dying to know.
Okay. Overview. So I did enjoy The Force Awakens. I thought that it was a good, enjoyable movie. I thought it had a lot of the right elements from the original trilogy. Um, Done well with, like, obviously new technology. It's a cool Star Wars movie that's not like the the prequel trilogy that was like, okay, that wasn't that good.
That was incredibly cheesy with the love story. Yeah.
Yeah. So it like skipped out on a lot of the bad aspects of the prequel trilogy. The um goodness, the return what was the second one? I can't remember the name of it.
Return of the
The
Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Oh,
The Last
The Last
Jedi,
Jedi.
that's what it was.
Last Jedi is easily one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely terrible. It spit in the face of the entire lore of Star Wars. It lacked any heart or really like direction. I don't know, like a part of the fun of Star Wars is like, oh, we went to this, this different planet, and we met these interesting people. And 60% of that movie was like, we're in a ship and we're running away and we're running out of gas.
Oh,
It's
by the
like
way,
this would make a good
the
this would make a
interesting
good
planet they
episode on
went to.
television, but there's a movie. I paid $12 to see this, and half of the movie is just
No,
like,
they went to an
can't
interesting
run
planet.
away any faster.
It was a casino where they found out that it was the war machine. That's the reason. And
So annoying. My gosh, just let evil be the bad guys who are trying to kill everybody, and let the good guys be the guys who are trying to stop them.
but
Why
no,
does it have to be this
they let the animals go, and that's
annoying?
all that matters. They let the animals go, and that's all that matters.
Not to mention the very first scene pissed me off so bad. Am I allowed to say that? Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Irritated me. Okay, irritated me to no end. Where it's like, hey, that whole thing you did in the first movie, and then you got Luke's saber back to him, and he just goes, yeah. It's like, oh, cool. Well, so why did I spend $12 to see that movie and
Oh,
spend 2.5 hours at
let's
the theater?
add some
None
elements
of
to
it
that.
mattered.
Luke, who never knew his father until he pretty much died, is now holding the lightsaber that was the only possession that was left to him from his father, and he just throws it behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
It's kind of like saying Rey Skywalker. Like, what? Like, what?
I loved him. So
But the last one, I
screw
will
you
say,
guys.
was the last one was fun. It wasn't great. It was fine. It was honestly, my summation of it is it was a Marvel Star Wars movie. It was
Yes.
good, not terribly deep. Some things didn't make a lot of sense. But I
Somehow
was
Palpatine
fine with it.
Palpatine is back.
Yeah. So you guys all know my friend Nick Spicer. Anybody listening? He's a friend of
Our
mine
friend Nick
and
Spicer,
neighbor.
thank you.
Exactly. Well, listen. Anyways, he made a good point when he first saw it, and he was explaining to me. He was like, "Yeah, so obviously, Palpatine's back," and I was really off put by how they challenge it in the movie. It's like, so they announced that Palpatine's back, and then one guy goes, "How could he have come back?" And then they just move past it. Don't look back. No more second guessing. Just like, nope, he's back. That's it.
Nathan, let me ask you a question. I remember before Force Awakening came out, I was sitting in your living room with you and your brother Mike, and I was going through this article about reasons why you should be excited for the new sequel trilogy. And the first thing it said was, "Be excited because George Lucas has no part of this." Because how he did the prequels, like with the love story, which I think was weird, and she died of a heart, like of a broken heart. Yeah, like, oh
Yeah.
please. And the fact that Anakin made C3PO so that every time he says thank the maker, it's actually thank like Darth Vader. I don't know, it's just weird. Like that you didn't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they could have used some George Lucas in the sequels? Like not maybe directing them, but at least some influence into the story for continuity's sake?
I think they could have used a lot less Ryan Johnson. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah,
Ryan, whoever.
I actually don't know
Yeah,
how
they
you
could have
it's
used.
pronounce it.
Ryan.
Yeah, you could
Ryan.
use 100% less him because basically the Force Awakens was good, and because of that, had a framework to work with, and he came in and kind of dismantled everything that was good about it, which put what J.J. Abrams, right, for the last one,
Yep.
Mhm.
put
Yeah.
him in an awkward situation. It's like, well, now I have to salvage a story that was kind of mine, destroyed, and then now is mine again. I'm just gonna kind of wing it straight up Marvel style and just go with whatever's makes him chuckle.
I actually
Um,
felt the whole new sequel trilogy had too much Marvel influence in it. Like the humor, like I don't know, I thought Poe's character, and I've kind of grown to accept it, but you talk, I talk, who goes first? That's very Marvel-ish. And I just, there are certain humors that work in certain, like, Lord of the Rings humors is almost not humor. Like it's just, but it is like, a wizard is never, lay he simply arrived, whatever that quote is, and then they both
yeah,
laugh. Like it's not
arrives
really that
precisely when he means to.
funny, but
Yeah,
it's a Lord of the Rings humor, right?
but it's
Like
charming. Yeah,
it's charming. That's
I
it.
was
And
actually I was actually definitely okay with a lot of the kind of comedic, I guess, aspects of the new trilogy. That was one of the better parts, I think, for me. Matter of fact, that's what the original or the prequel trilogy really lacked was any kind of humor. Um, I mean, other than friggin' Jar Jar Binks, that's not humor though. That was just
That was
slapstick.
You mean
cringe.
you mean him running
Funny.
around yelling Misa all the time didn't crack you up?
Like,
Oh,
the
Misa, Jar Jar
so,
Binks.
the Clone
but the
Wars tried.
original trilogy did really well with making it charming and funny. Like I love the scene when in basically Star Wars A New Hope, whatever it's called, when Han Solo is charging down the hall. There's 3 stormtroopers that he's racing after, screaming his head off, and he runs in, and there's like this entire battalion that's in front of him, and he just like gets this look on his face and turns around and runs. I thought that was great. I love that about those movies because they were charming and fun
The
in that
Clone
way.
Wars tried so hard to validate Jar Jar Binks. Aaron, you watched the Clone
Making
Wars,
him a
right?
senator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they like tried to make him important, and they tried to like
They
build
had
the lore of his culture.
episodes around him and stuff like that.
It was unbearable. Aaron, why do you like the sequel trilogy? Tell us why. What about it? Why did you like Rey Skywalker at the end? Like, how is that good?
I thought our character. So first of all, I think the acting. The original trilogy. I can't stand the acting, to be honest. Like Hamill's. I mean, we all know, and Hamill even admits himself that he's not a great actor. So I'm like, all right, at least he's self-aware. So I respect that a little bit, but just the acting overall, I can't deal with in that movie. I think that all the actors in the sequel trilogy run circles around the actors in the OG trilogy. So I think that for me that made a really big difference. I loved how they ended things with Ray. I know I went off like a big rant, kind of explaining the spiritual aspects of why I liked Ray saying I'm a Ray Skywalker because she was going against her Palpatine family roots and choosing not to go down the dark side, instead choosing to embrace the light side, which is also a reflection of how in our sin nature when we come to know Jesus, we're rejecting what we were and then going and starting a new life and a new family with God. So I like the symbolism that represents. I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's a cool message for people to stick to. Is you don't have to be defined by your family and your past, but you can break free with that and become something new.
Just as I
Boo.
am.
Judeo-Christian values.
Just
Am I gonna
as
get
I
canceled?
am.
I really enjoyed that ending to her. I just found the movies honestly just a ton of fun, like more fun than the original trilogy. Yes, I am biased in that older movies I'm not a fan of because
The
they don't
acting
look as
style in
good.
the 70s and 80s was different, though. Like, you
Yeah,
have to,
and
Right,
I
you
don't like
have
it.
almost 40 years difference.
yeah,
Yeah, but I
like,
don't like it. I like how they do acting now.
I almost think
You know?
acting then was more pure, though. Like, it was more pure. You watch older movies, the acting's more pure. Like, you can tell they're acting, which I understand. Which I understand you don't
Oh,
necessarily want, but it's just
like it
a
was
pure form.
if pure is bad, then yeah, I'll take it.
I like theater acting though, so like, cause I'm okay with
Oh,
I'm
man.
okay because the story matters more than the acting. Like there was a guy I worked with in Texas, and he preferred the prequels because the CGI was better. The story matters more than the CGI. Like that's what like a good guy with a good story is great. Pirates of the Caribbean, great CGI, but a better story. Like the story was good. The fact that they were fighting swords on ships that were like swirling in a cyclone, that was all CGI. It was good, but it was the story that I was in love with. That was just the climax. So
Sure.
like, I don't know, I'm okay with
I don't know. I enjoyed this. I know there were moments in the prequel trilogy that were like, geez, like why'd you do that? Like we talked about the Jar Jar thing, but I enjoyed the story more in the prequel than I did in the original. I like seeing Anakin kind of grow up and then devolve and kind of going nuts and becoming Vader.
And hating
So
sand.
and
that part's
hating
fine, but
Sand.
I just didn't understand the love
Of
story in
course.
Attack of the Clones was so unbearable.
Yeah, well, I think they did that to try to set up for his downfall in the third one, but I think the writing could have been a lot better.
It was so
for
bad.
Mhm.
And
I
Padme's
get why they
acting
did
was
it.
horrible.
Oh yeah, no, she was not. She wasn't good. She's gotten a lot better, Natalie Portman, as she's gotten older. But yeah, it was definitely cringy.
Aaron,
Even
did you
McGregor was the bright spot of
he
that
was.
Actually,
whole trilogy.
I'm gonna bring this up about Natalie Portman. Carly and I watched a movie last night. Oh goodness, I can't remember what it was called. Leon, Leon the Professional. That was actually, I believe it was Natalie Portman's acting, like feature first film, whatever they call that.
Debut.
Her
Yeah,
premiere debut. There we go. She was, I think, 13 in that. So it was made in 1984. Really good. She was
really.
amazing in that movie. So good. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. I definitely thought that she just kind of matured as an actress, but she was good in the early 90s. I think, yeah, Star Wars just didn't have a whole
Well, I
lot of
mean, we all
direction
know
for her.
the writing and the dialogue in particular for
Did
the
you like
prequel trilogy wasn't great.
did you like Rose, Aaron? Did you like that character?
Is that which one is she? Oh, she's the one who. Oh, is that the one they in the second one she went with Finn?
Mhm.
Yes.
And, oh
Yeah.
no, I didn't like her. I found her very
Okay.
annoying and
Okay,
Both
good.
really
both of
unnecessary.
both of those characters were useless.
So I was
Yep.
excited. I was excited. I do think they very underutilized Finn. Because I was excited when they announced that he was gonna like the first trailer for Force Awakens showed him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the first. I'm like, all right, like I can get behind. They got a black lead in a Star Wars film. Like, all right, like I like to see that. Like that's gonna be interesting. And they kind of give him some shine in the first movie, and then they did him dirty and made him just like a secondary character for the rest of the trip. I
Right.
was like,
He would have been a really great
A
martyr.
busybody. Yeah.
right, and I think they
True.
very underutilized him. He even said that afterwards. He's like, yeah, they kind of just like threw my character to the side, which I think that actually is justified. I think they could have done a lot more with him, and I think they
What even
missed big
happens
on
with
him.
him in The Rise of Skywalker? I can't even think of what his what is his story arc in the last movie.
He goes and he
I
meets
can't think of it.
other stormtroopers that left, and then I don't know. He's supposed to tell Ray something that we never find out, and then they go, "Oh,"
Right. Yeah.
and they like retcon it in the comic books afterwards. Like, this is what he was actually going to say, and it's like something meaningless that should have
Yeah.
just been forgotten about.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah. They when in doubt, just write a comic book and fix it all.
And the other thing with the sequel trilogy is I love Kylo Ren. He's my favorite character.
Kylo Ren was a great
And so-
character.
Kyler Ren's development was good, and I thought Adam Driver is a phenomenal.
Yeah,
actor.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Adam Driver is he's one of my favorite actors, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. And I just loved the character of Kylo. Like I watched this trilogy more because of his character. Like I liked seeing him on the screen and seeing where his character was going. I don't know. He was a big driver for it. No pun intended.
Ah,
I have a question though. Was anybody else like one weirded out and two very surprised that Rey and Kylo Ren kissed?
no, I actually felt like that fit.
Yeah, they were angling at
maybe
that.
I was lost the whole time, but I was like, oh, this is like a cool like brother sister, really good friends, like friendship becoming, and then
No.
they kissed, and my wife and I were next to each other, and we're like, what? Why
You
did
don't
they just
remember in,
kiss each other?
You don't remember in the second movie when they're like force connecting and he's standing there shirtless with like his like high waters on? And
No, I did, but like, I don't know.
there was some tension there.
I know.
Brother
I
and
just- I
sisters
just thought it
kissing
was
is nothing new in Star Wars.
True,
Though, so
true. But
That isn't true.
I thought that was weird. But if I could give my 2 cents into this whole Star Wars thing, Force Awakens is a great movie. It's a standalone, incredible. It was very well done. It did. It paid tribute to the original trilogy. It created a new storyline that had so much potential, and it was amazing. I love it, and I've actually watched it a few times. It's one of those movies I could watch a few times. And then episode 8 happened, and I completely checked out because I couldn't stand that movie. And it left a bad taste in my mouth. And then episode 9 was worse than that, in my opinion. And I don't like them at all. But episode 7's great. I love that movie. It's a good movie.
Episode 7's a good movie. My biggest knock on it was actually that it was so similar to A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like parallel to everything. That's why I was like, oh, it's kind of like almost the same movie.
my dad said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
episode
definitely
8 because it was different. It was something vastly different.
I heard that complaint a lot, and I guess my instant rebuttal to it was, okay, so episode 4 is great and everybody loved it. Then they made, the rest of that trilogy. They made the prequel trilogy, and then they make the sequel trilogy. The prequels were nothing like the originals. Then they come back to the formula that worked, and then people are like, well, it's too much like the thing that worked. It's like, well, yeah, because the other time we ended up with the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good point.
I like the prequels better than the original, but
we had Trade Federation blockades instead of give me the Death Star. But I think this is a good spot to end it. So, Aaron, tell us for the first time this season about your plug.
So just to remind all you, we are a sports podcast, even though we just talked about Star Wars. So do not worry. But we're back for season 2. We're excited about that. Just to remind all of you folk about where you can find us, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Spotify, and we are on YouTube, where we have our video that you can watch. And we just ask that you share this with your friends, families, co-workers, whoever it is that you think could be interested in hearing about sports, any other stuff like Star Wars or whatever it is we're going to talk about, or just hear a bunch of guys just rag on each other the whole time. Please be sure to follow our Instagram at Under.500 Podcast and our Facebook page as well. What we do is we'll be posting content throughout the week that you can engage with. And please feel free to send us at any point a DM on either of those accounts. Any questions or comments you have, if you want us to talk about something, let us know. And we might give you a shout out on the episode. So yeah, hit us up on that. Subscribe, follow, spread the word. And on that note, we are done for the week. Another episode, boys. New season.
Nathan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, man.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Everybody have
Always
a good week.
to see you.
See you guys.
Peace out, everyone. See you next week.